Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to another video. This is Sukash Education. Okay, so in this video, we're actually going to be covering the topic of Aztecs and conquistadors. Conquistadors is the name for the people, is the name for the Spanish. They were the one who conquered the Aztec land, conquered Mexico. Okay, so I've written dot points for all of these. So this was taken in 26th August. So I was watching this short video said by my teacher. Hope this will be helpful for anyone, anytime. So let's get right into it. So Herman Cortez. Herman Cortez. So this guy, right, guys, is the Spanish. Like he is the Spanish conquistador. So he's the main lead, captainish. And then Yucatan was the first place the Spanish arrived. So when they came to Mexico, this was the place that they arrived in. So in April 1519, Cortez arrived at Yucatan, Mexico. So at 1519, Cortez arrived. That's the date when they arrived at this first place. So Cortez, right, had a Spanish sailor who spoke Mayan. So he had a Spanish sailor who spoke Mayan. So this was like an interpreter. Mayan was kind of the local language. And there was this other girl called La Malinche. So she could, translate Mexican to Mayan. So La Malinche would translate what the Aztecs said to Mayan, and the person who knows Mayan, the Spanish sailor, will convert it to Spanish. Most of the translation efforts were lost in the way, but it was still a pretty clever idea. They didn't have Google Translate back in the day. Okay, now the Aztecs language was called Nahuatl. So I pronounced it wrong, but it doesn't matter either ways. So on 1519 Sunday of Easter, right? That's when Cortez and the Mexico ambassador met. So the Aztecs thought the Cortez was a king or a god because Cortez arrived right in the time when this is other famous, Quetzalcoatl. He was said to arrive, and Cortez looked exactly like Quetzalcoatl. So because of this, the Aztecs believed that he was the king or a god. So Cortez fired guns and used horses to their advantage. So the Aztec Empire, right, was built on tribute and fear. So the Aztec Empire, like if you go and search up Aztec, one second guys, if you go and search up Aztecs, the way it was built was all the low class people, they were killed on the peak of the structure, right? All of them were killed on the peak of the structure. So that's why it was built on tribute and fear. So tribute meant the human hearts, tribute of human hearts. Aztecs used human hearts to their advantage. They take it out, pumping out live, right? The Aztec ruler is called Montezuma. So he was the one who was ruling the Aztecs at the time. So Quetzalcoatl was expelled from Mexico, but he promised that he will return to regain his kingdom, as I've said before. The Aztec gods were capricious, willful, cruel, and cruel. So Cortez destroyed his own ships so that no one can go home. Cortez's men believed in Cortez. That was the main advantage. For Montezuma, no one believed in him. When Montezuma surrendered to them, Cortez, nobody believed in Montezuma's words anymore. That's another major factor that led to their downfall. So Cortez destroyed his own ships so that no one can go home. So he just built this little trust. So Cortez, yeah, and then Tenochtitlan, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but that's the capital of Mexico at that time. So the Tlaxcans were the rivalries or the enemies of the Aztecs. So they always hated them. So they always had this war-ish. So Cortez, right, when he arrived, he allied up with the Tlaxcalans, and other tribes to defeat the Aztecs. Okay, so The Aztecs used obsidian with the clubs. So they used obsidian. It's like the sharp glass. 149,000 people of the Tlaxcalans joined the army. So Cortez and his men, which were only about like 30, 40, and several thousand Tlaxcalans gave their army strength and manpower to conquer. So Aztecs had traders, warriors, priests, lawyers, musicians, jugglers, and so this was how the Aztecs' lives were. Okay, so Cortez suspected a conspiracy planned on the lords of Chola. So when Cortez was invited to the Aztec thing, he what do you call heard rumors that Montezuma was planning to kill Cortez at the temple. So when they met at the temple, Cortez and his men killed 3,000 locals. So the pyramid was the place where Aztecs sacrificed humans to the gods. And the reason they did this was when they gave this to gods, they thought the gods gave it back in rain, health, and harvest. That's how they gave it back. So Cortez then arrests Montezuma. So he brings Montezuma under his power. So that's what they did, right? He brought he brought Montezuma under his power. So at that stage, he was basically ruling Mexico. So Aztecs soon lost trust at Montezuma. Soon the Aztec people, so the own Aztecs, they killed their leader, Montezuma, because he surrendered. So the Spaniards, right? They were trapped inside the palace. So inside the palace, they were trapped. Because if they left the palace, they were killed. So food and water has been cut off. So this city, right? The Techno, that's where it was. So this is an island, This is an island. You can search it up. It's an island. So it's an island covered by water, and there's only three causeways, three ways you can get out. But the Aztecs, no, but the Spanish knew how to build ships. They had a person who could build ships. So that's what they did. Cortez and his men built a ship out of wood from the ceiling. They planned to leave at midnight. So as they executed the plan, right, three-fourths of Cortez's men were left behind. 800 men were left behind. That's three-fourths. Only a spear. I mean, guys, imagine 800 people were left behind. So either killed, drowned, or captured. Pretty sure they were sacrificed. So 40% of the Aztec population by then was died due to smallpox. So the Cortez and his men, right, after they flew or escaped the island, they went and stored at a different space. They were resting in Tlaxcalans in their area. So Cortez built 13 ships there, each of 40 feet long, before the second attack. So now Cortez had armies anywhere from ranging 50,000 to 500,000. So let's take it to be 400,000. So 22nd of May 1521, that's the fall of the Aztecs, the Second War began. Aztecs captured all the causeways and surrounded waterways. So Cortez's plan by now was to lay siege to the city, cut off food and water supplies until they would surrender by themselves. So Cortez was basically not only starving the men, starving women and children too, so having no pity. So the siege lasted for 80 days. So the Aztecs held on for 80 days. A quarter of the million people were reduced to eating no choice, but they had to eat lizards and grass for their survival. So Cuauhtemoc was their new king, and he soon surrendered when Cortez came to him too, because he didn't want to die. Cortez captured the Aztecs and changed the old Mexico. So guys, this is my whole dot points on the Aztecs and the conquistadors. Hopefully I've learned something, and with this knowledge, I'm sure that you'll get full marks in your test. So go ahead and crack it, guys. Thanks.